we should probably just get right down the brass tacks here. Let's talk goalie tiers here. And as you know, we've been doing our goalie tier rankings here. What we did the centers, we did the defensemen, we did the left wings, we did the right wing. This is the one position where there's not going to be any, multi-position eligibility. It's just a straight 1 through 25 via Yahoo's at top 25 ADP. And we are talking from a fantasy perspective. Although with the goaltenders, you get a little bit more of a true assessment because there's only 32 starting jobs in the league. So we're taking the top 20. It's not like center, left wing, right wing, where there's so many. And it's like it depends on the size of the pool you're using. This will be a little more accurate here in terms of how we feel. Frank also checking in. Can't wait for the draft on Saturday. Frank lost to somebody in the finals. You guys will have to remind me who that was, who the champ is. But nonetheless, you see on the screen here, we have Connor Hellebuck as the leading off the S tier. No problems with any of that. It's just the question is he in a class by himself, like we discussed with Cale Makar, or are we throwing a Vasilevsky and a Jake Ottinger, maybe a Shesterkin in there with him, or are we leaving him by himself?
I'm putting Vasilevsky and Ottinger in there. I don't think there's enough of a separation from him to Vasilevsky and or Ottinger. I think their numbers are going to be close. They're all workhorses. They're all, if you get a chance to get one of those three, you're in a very good spot. So even like I would say maybe the goalie's got the best team in front of him would probably be Ottinger, but Connor Hellebuck is elite. He can do it by himself. And Vasilevsky is, he is the tradition of a workhorse. He and Connor Hellebuck are workhorses. They're going to play upwards of 60 games this year. They have to be together.
Now, Hellebuck and Ottinger did not go north of 60. He played 58. Vasilevsky and Hellebuck also, they both went north of 60. It was 58, so it's right there. He is playing the bulk of them. So difference is probably negligible there. Ant, what do you think?
I'm going to leave Hellebuck on his own. Okay. He had about 9 more wins than Vasilevsky and gave up 9 less goals as well. So I think he's on his own here, but barely. Vasilevsky's definitely up there, but I think that A would start Vasilevsky and Ottinger on their own. And this guy's won Vezina 2 years in a row. I mean, forget about what he does in the playoffs because that doesn't matter here.
Correct.
Fantasy-wise, regular season-wise, Connor Hellebuck is top tier above all to me right now.
Now, what makes me want to lean towards what Chris is saying is maybe the recipe for Hellebuck here is he's played the last couple of years. He's played 64 games last year. He played 63, 60, 64, 66, and this guy keeps wearing down in the playoffs. Maybe the recipe, he doesn't play 63 games. He plays maybe a 58, a 59 like Jake Ottinger did last year. So to me, if the
Bobrovsky recipe where he's okay during the regular season, then the postseason is his deal.
So, I part of me does want to put Hellebuck in a tier by himself. I think you could put Vasilevsky with him and then maybe put Jake Ottinger to start the A tier. But again, it's so close. It's either, to me, you're putting all those three together or you're separating Hellebuck. So you got a decision to make here.
I've made my case here. Case.
I mean, obviously it's 2-1, so you have to put them now.
All right. So
and I think to me, if you're putting Vasilevsky up there, then Ottinger would have to go as well. Because I think they are close. I think those two are closer than Hellebuck, Vasilevsky.
This is a fantastic start. We can't agree on the three.
and we haven't even talked about Igor Shesterkin, who probably also is right bordering on that tier. And I think we'll talk more about him later. But how about this? We split the difference. We put Vasilevsky with Hellebuck, and then Jake Ottinger is a strong start to the A tier. Are we okay with that?
I can live with that.
Because they're both workhorses. But
you could take it up with Jake Ottinger personally at that point if he calls. And he's like, hey, why am I not in the S tier? And you can be like, well, we split the difference.
Fine. Because of the team in front of him, we'll count that in because he does probably have the best team in front of him. Okay, fine.
You're welcome, Jake.
Fine. And that means that Shesterkin has to lead off the A tier, no?
That's fair. That's fair.
Yes.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. So again, a little bit more of a true ranking here. since we're doing 25 out of 32, we'll say. All right, so on the list there, in ADP, next up would be actually before him would be Mackenzie Blackwood, because Blackwood is fourth in ADP, Shesterkin with the fifth average. So I got no problem putting Blackwood there. He played 54% of the starts that he got once of the games he was available to Colorado once he was acquired by the Sharks there. And I factored in what Wedgwood did too. So I'm very okay putting him in the A tier. They may even give him a couple of more starts, maybe get him a little bit closer to 50, maybe like a 48-50 start error. And I'm okay with that. He's got a very good team in front of him.
Yeah, I can live with that. If you're gonna go that route, that's more than fine.
All right, so we're through 5 goalies here. Now we're looking at from a fantasy perspective again. Who else belongs in this A tier here? Are we saying Ilya Sorokin and a bounce back? Are we talking about Sergei Bobrovsky, what we worry about maybe a reduced workload for him to a certain degree this year? Who else are you putting in this A tier with Blackwood and Shesterkin?
Listen, this is going to sound like it's following the pace of everything else that you've been watching a lot of, but I'm going to go to bat here for Philip Gustafsson, and for a couple of reasons here. Not because he is in Minnesota, though that does help, but that team was decimated by key injuries, and their blue line is nothing extraordinary, but he still put up really good numbers last year. He did more than what I think people give him credit for. He is also in a contract year. I think he's 27 or something, 26, 27. This is his opportunity to get paid, to get absolutely paid with the salary cap increasing. So he's making peanuts. He can easily triple his salary. He has a good team in front of him, right? Guys that are there and Spurgeon. Brock Faber took a year back, maybe offensively, but defensively, it was still good. There are pieces there that can help. The Minnesota Wild as well are a good two-way hockey team. Yes, they have players who could pound the back of the net, but Joel Eriksson Ek is a good two-way player. Marco Rossi as well is a good two-way player. This is a good team. So the only thing that hurts him is he's got to play in that absolute gauntlet of a Central Division. Like, that's the only thing that slows him down. I mean the three goalies we have up there. Yeah, the 3 goalies ahead of him all play in the same division as him. So, like, that may be there. But to me, he is an A tier goalie. And he's going to get forgotten. And his ADP does him no justice. But because you listen here, you know this now. Now you know. We know how goalies are. They're voodoo. We understand as well how players get paid. Contract years it's not a myth, right? It's not a myth. It's fact.
Anthony, you're a guy that sometimes targets Gustafsson. Are you okay with putting him in the A tier?
Yes, I believe in him more than I would Mackenzie Blackwood, and that's just maybe Mackenzie Blackwood's coming into his own now, but what I saw from him, I just think that he is doing so well because of the team he's on, and maybe that counts for something in fantasy. I don't know. I'm a little worried about taking him in drafts, just because of his past and staying healthy and stuff like that, where I would rather go for a Philip Gustafsson. I feel like there's a couple other guys that I'd rather take ahead of Blackwood. But like we said, because of he's on Colorado right now, I think he deserves to be up there in the season he had last year. So Gustafsson, fine for me, having him in that tier.
I'm not worried about taking Blackwood. I just don't want to take him as high as he's been going in drafts. I don't want to pay that cost. He's usually, like I said, he's usually the 4th goalie off the board. He's usually going somewhere in that 3rd, early 4th round, maybe. I don't want to pay that for him when I know I can get other guys, even Shesterkin around the same spot as well. Something. All right. So far, so good. Anybody else that belongs in the A tier here?
Oh, I mean, I feel like it's hard to say no to Aiden Hill. Just because the team that he plays on kind of makes a lot of sense. And like, I would feel comfortable, I guess, finishing the A tier with Sorokin. Like, the problem with Sorokin is he's a good goalie on just a below average team. And his team does him no favors. They're terrible on the penalty kill. They were terrible on the power play. But I don't know. Maybe something changes. Good goalie, just on an absolutely miserable hockey team.
But I think they've bottomed out, and I think they'll be better this year. I think he'll be better this year. And this was a guy that was going third, amongst goalies last year around this time. So
Yeah.
I'm fine with closing the A tier there. I'm fine with Aiden Hill there. That does mean Darcy Kemper probably. Well, before we move on, what about Bobrovsky? Are we putting him in the A tier as well, or because we worry about a reduced workload, perhaps he leads off the B tier? I might still put him at the end of the A tier.
I am worried about his reduced workload. I do think this team will try not try to ease him in, but like there's only so much hockey you can play, right? Before your body starts to collapse. And again, here's a player as well. Contract here for him, but he's aging, right?
Yep.
He's not getting any younger. He's not a spring chicken anymore. So
I think he leads off B, and as someone who personally traded for him to try to turn around my hopes last season, he didn't really add much, and he had more bad games than he had good. He gave up a lot of goals in a lot of the games that I really needed help in. So regular season Bobrovsky is not A tier for me.
All right, so B tier leads. We lead off the B tier with Bobrovsky. You're not going to get an argument from me there for all the things we've just discussed. Listen, I know we expect a regression from Darcy Kemper, but he still produced really strong numbers. He plays again behind a team that's very defensive minded. I'm okay with him being in that B tier there. I know Chris is probably going to have something to say about this, but I don't think you could put him in the C tier. Not yet.
I mean, listen, he's got Joel Edmondson, Brandon Dumoulin, and Cody Ceci in front of him. He's going to realize really quick that this is not the LA Kings of last season. And again, we know his health history. We know that he is a ticking time bomb. So if you drafted him last year, you got him at a discount. He overperformed. Like, soak it in. You know what I mean? You did well. The problem is where he's going right now at his current ADP. I'm not getting locked into that, especially with some of these goalies that are still on that board. He's
agree.
now in a convert, like, you know what I mean? Like if you're flirting between Bobrovsky and Kemper, you understand the assignment. Like one goalie is good and the other one outperformed his ADP. That's it.
And the thing with Kemper too is like last year, and everybody recalls I was big on him and that paid off. But like I'm getting off the train. I'm getting off at the next stop. I'm not expecting a repeat of that. But I think because of what he did last year, I don't know if we can necessarily drop him because of all the other things going on there with the Kings. And I understand the blue line, and it's Anton Forsberg behind him, so he's going to get whatever reps he wants. So we'll see how they use him. But I'm okay, even if he's towards the back of the B tier. Who else belongs in this B tier that's left on this list here? Are we making an argument for Anthony Stolarz in the B tier, playing in Toronto now with Joseph Wall taking a personal leave of absence from the team? Who knows how long he's going to be out? So maybe that increases his value a little bit there. I'm definitely putting a Dustin Wolf there based on what he did last year. If Calgary plays even a little bit better, that's there. I think that helps his value, but definitely a B tier guy. Are we throwing a Jacob Markstrom in there, or because they're going to probably split the workload between him and Jake Allen, or at least have a little bit of a closer share there? Is he more in the C tier of that result? What do you think?
I think that Markstrom is going to get more of the playing time because he's also on a contract year.
Okay.
So he's probably, I know he's 36, but with a team that's in the hopes of making a deeper run in the playoffs this year, if they could stay healthy and with the defense lining up the way it is, if they could sign Luke Hughes already, I think that Markstrom should probably be in this B tier, and maybe Stolarz as well for the start because, like you said, he's going to get more of the playing time. I don't know how that unless you're getting a tandem with Stolarz as well. That'll be a big thing for a lot of fantasy players as well, between even the Devils and Toronto. That's something to look into as well.
I think Stolarz is legit. I mean, he was the better goalie in Toronto last year, and it wasn't close. And then he got hurt, and then you saw how that team kind of, struggled a little bit, lost its way. I think he's a good goalie. I think maybe it just took him a minute to get to where it is, but now that he's here, right? Like he was very good with a very below average defense in front of them. And yes, the Leafs still have a below defense. Yes, they lost Mitch Marner. They didn't really, replace him per se. But I mean, I think I think he can still return value on in that B tier. It wouldn't shock me if he had a really good year. It wouldn't.
Yeah, listen, I'm very okay with putting Stolarz in that tier because, like we said, even Cole going to be out for knows how long, and he, like you said, he was a better goalie last year. So I re-ranked the B tier a little bit. Would definitely agree on leading off with Bobrovsky. We're going to bump Stolarz up to right behind him. Wolf, Kemper, Markstrom. Would you change anything here in the B tier?
We still adding to it? Yeah.
Okay, so who else belongs in this B tier? Because to me, we're getting close. I mean, maybe Logan Thompson.
That's
If
what I was
they
going to say. Logan deserves to be there.
okay, so that's who's going to close off the B tier. We'll say.
I think so.
It's about
Now,
as close as you can get. Yeah.
So, how many starts did Charlie Lindgren have last year? Because when we talked about goalie handcuffs, we said this was an essential one. Lindgren started 38 games last year. So, to me, that's why I think you can't put Thompson any higher than anybody else in the B tier right now. But would you move Markstrom above Kemper?
I would.
Okay.
Kemper is a C goalie, but we've agreed collectively that he is in the B category.
He's earned his keep for this year.
He did enough last year to, yeah, exactly. All right. So, let's go to the C tier now. Let's see who's leading off the C tier. I would maybe see like a Jordan Binnington or a Linus Olmark. Who would you say is the lead off of the C tier?
Oh, UC Saros.
Really?
He's
He
got
belongs there.
he's got nobody to challenge him for that spot, and the Predators were just so terrible. Like they can't be that bad twice, right? Like he wasn't the issue. That team had a lot of other issues, and maybe it took a full year for all of them to gel. So he's got nobody challenging his spot. He's gonna play, and kind of like Gustafsson, he's just in that division that's just an absolute gauntlet. So it might be tough at times, but he's going to play those games and he's going to get the opportunity. And if his team can do him some favors, I think he's going to be okay. He didn't just fall off the face of the earth, right? Listen, Nashville didn't trade, right, Askarov away and then turn around a couple of years later and go, yeah, by the way, I mean, Saros is terrible. No, I can't. Like, they're pot committed to him now. Get him on the ice. Play better in front of him. This is a team thing more than it is a UC Saros thing.
Fair, but of the three goalies that he's with, he's the one that did not go to the playoffs last year. And if you're talking about workload and not having to worry about somebody eating into it, are you really worried about Levi Marilainen eating into Olmark's workload? Are you really worried about Joel Hofer leading into Binnington's workload? I don't know. I don't know if I'm really too concerned in those two instances either about those guys.
Linus Olmark's on a bad team. Let's not get it twisted. Like,
all right,
the Ottawa Senators are not good. Like, yes, they snuck in, good for them, but like I remember when I'm old enough to remember when people thought Linus Olmark was going to win 40 games last year, and then we came back down to reality. And there's just too many. The Ottawa Senators exceeded certain expectations in certain spots. Their power play was red hot. You know, they got going a little bit in certain players, but this is still a team. Their core is basically the same. They haven't gotten it done. And if you believe everybody else in the Atlantic continues to get better, the Ottawa Senators didn't. This is a status quo team at best. They'll hit you, but, you know, goals matter.
All right, I'm comfortable putting him behind Saros, but I would still put Binnington ahead of Saros. That would be my preference there, but I agree. Saros is an excellent, low risk, high reward if Nashville can get their act together. Frank checking in earlier, Blackwood should be on B tier because he has to prove himself in back-to-back years, in my opinion. I agree. Like, don't get me wrong. He played very well. He was playing well with the Sharks. He was playing well behind that decrepit blue line that is a little bit better this year. We're not going to really talk about the Sharks today because Askarov not in the top 25 of ADP right now, but that's a guy maybe as a late round in a 14-team league or maybe even a 12-teamer worth like your last or penultimate pick. So we got our C tier here. Anybody else that we're going to throw into the C tier? We got Jeremy Swayman. We've got Joey Decord, Karel Vemelka, Lucas Dostal, Samuel Montembeau, Thatcher Demko. Or are these all D tier goalies?
I would put Demko in C, no?
With health. That's the reason why I hesitate. I agree. He would be a B tier goalie if he could stay healthy. But
I would put Vemelka in there.
Okay.
I think with them, releasing or putting on waivers Connor Ingram, like he's like that's his net now, right? Sometimes you were fearful of like it being a split. Now it's basically Utah saying, "Hey, this is your net. Figure it out." He's probably going to get a ton of opportunity. Just how legit are the are the Mammoth though? Like, can they take that step? But we'll find out pretty quick.
Now, here, all right. So far, I'm comfortable with everything that we've got there.
Is it me? Are we missing Askarov on here? I don't see San Jose on here.
Well, he's not top 25 ADP. So of gold.
Okay, got you.
So yeah, that's why he's not here. But like I said, maybe a late round pick that you can, if you're in a 12 or a 14 team league, that second to last round or that last round pick, need a third goalie, you can maybe get a little value there. Now, I want to talk about two guys here before we move on to official D tier. Samuel Montembeault, are you putting him in the C tier, Chris? I want to hear it from you if we don't put him in.
He could probably finish it off. There's a couple of things that worry me. One, I mean, he is a workhorse, but he shouldn't be. I don't think he should be playing as many games as he played last year. And the Montreal Canadiens are still a young team. This is a young blue line. This is a young team in general. Like, the growing pains are still going to be there. It might be better, but I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with it. If you're going to get the volume out of Samuel Montembeault and you start him correctly, the problem is he's not like he can't be your number one goalie. He's probably a 2 when you need a handcuff or a backup to kind of get those starts in where you need them. And Montreal, a team that their shot volume has never been good. They have given up. Like, Montembeault on some nights had to stand on his head and make 40+ saves, right? And it's good when it hits, but when it goes south quick, then you're caught, right? He could give up 3 goals on 5 shots. That's the end of his night.
Montembeault has been a guy where in drafts where I've gotten Shesterkin, like I've been targeting. Binnington's usually the guy I target for goalie too, but if there's a run or I miss out on him, Montembeault is my backup for my goalie too. So I agree. He's a strong goalie too. Obviously, we're not talking about him as a goalie 1. And if he has a goalie 1 at that point, maybe you might need to make a trade. Now, I'll put Demko at the end because he's got the worst team in front of him. But, if he stays healthy and Vancouver plays well, that could be a value return there. So we're on to the D tier. But we do have an opinion. I think Peter Kochetkov should finish off the C tier. I know there's a tandem with Freddie. We all know he'll be injured at some point. And that's the thing. We're talking about a Carolina Hurricanes that we expect them to probably be one of the final 4 teams of the Eastern Conference, potentially could make a run at the Stanley Cup. And yet here we are talking about their goalie leading off the tier or closing off the C tier because Freddie Anderson can't stay healthy. So if you get 30 games out of him, you're lucky. And Kochetkov, I think, maybe he turns it around this year, but for the first half of the season, he was playing well. He really was. I had shares of him. And then the second half of the season, it just did not look good for him. So maybe I'm snake bitten on wanting to put him at the end of the C tier. And it's crazy to me that the Hurricanes are such a good team, but we're talking about their goaltenders as a borderline C or D tier guys. But I'm open to what you guys think here on Kochetkov. Should he lead off D tier, close the C tier?
He can lead off the D tier. He can't be a C tier goalie. He's not the starter. He's not the starter. So
he's going above Freddie Anderson ADP though.
Sure, but Freddie Anderson is he's gonna play as many. Like, if Carolina plays him correctly and keeps him healthy, he's fine, right? He's good when he plays. That's the problem. He doesn't play enough. And you would think that one of those two Carolina goes, especially Kochetkov, because he could take over that role. And he's got the Carolina Hurricanes, for all we talk about, some of their players that we can't take in fantasy offensively because they're restricted on how they play. That's because they're so good defensively as well. And everything is structured around playing correctly, the Rob Brendamore style. So, Kochetkov should explode once he gets the opportunity. And it's just like he's not there. There's too much inconsistency in his game. He's a low end second goalie. He's probably Freddie Anderson's handcuff. That's where he is right now.
But Freddie Anderson's his handcuff.
Mix it. I feel like whoever gets him or Freddie, you're cuffed to take him. You have to take both.
They'd be a good ABC tandem.
Correct. And then once Freddie Anderson ends up on IR, then you go out and you see, what you can get kind of thing. But I feel like you have to draft 2 goalies for 1 spot. And I don't know if you want to carry 4 goalies in anything less than a 12-team league. Like, it doesn't make sense.
All right, so we're going to have him lead off the D tier. I'm going to rank how I would do the remaining people to close out the D tier here. I would put Dostal second, Swayman third. I think Swayman himself will have a decent year. He's just going to have a miserable team in front of him. If David Pastrnak gets hurt, forget about the Bruins season. And then I guess I would go Skinner 4 because of the potential that maybe he finally gets it going there, and then Decord to close it out amongst the top 25. I've spoke about this in the past with getting Dostal as my third goalie in some leagues. I think with Joel Quenneville coming to town, listen, you can say what you want about the Ducks overall not being a good team, but they are improved over last year. They do have a better team in front of them. He is going to be the guy. Mrazek is there as a insurance, and he will get his starts. But I think that is a pretty good way to do the tier.
I think that's fair. I mean, you could swap him and Dostal and Swayman just because, you know, I understand that Boston's awful, but Swayman at least he's going to be starting and at least give you, you know, his stats at the very least. But I think this is fine. I'm not arguing any of that bottom line.
Okay.
Stuart Skinner has the best shot of like missing
Wins.
Well, like
Maybe.
he's got the best chance of losing his job early. Like if this team doesn't get off to a good start, that's like they're gonna roll Calvin Pickard, and that's a mess.
All right, so there we go. So here's our D tier. I'm going to run through them quickly, and then we're going to talk Vezina picks quickly before we get to our mock draft here in just about 5 minutes. I'll put that link in the chat in a second. But here we go. So we're going to run through it. The S tier is Hellebuck, Vasilevsky, Ottinger. Your A tier is going to be Igor Shesterkin, Philip Gustafson, Kenzie Blackwood, Aiden Hill, Ilya Sorokin. The leading off the B tier is going to be, Sergei Bobrovsky, Anthony Stolars, Dustin Wolf, Jacob Markstrom, Darcy Kemper, and Logan Thompson. Leading off your C tier is Jordan Binnington, UC Saros, Linus Olmark, Karel Vejmelka, and Samuel Montembeau. And then Thatcher Demko closing out that tier. Then finally Kochetkov, and then Dostal, Swayman, Skinner, and Joey Decord. So that closes out your D tier there.